Hello, ladies and gentlemen, is I Taylor Field. That is right. I'm here today with another spoilers review just for you guys. And in today's spoilers review, we are going to be diving into the Netflix series Kingdom Season 2. But that being said, I know originally I wanted to give you guys a Season 1 review, but I never got around to it. And as the weeks kind of progressed, I realized, yeah, it's too late. It's gone. It's way in the dark. So, with season 2 being here, I realized I have the opportunity to give a kind of like an insight into season 1 and what I thought, and just obviously then the whole chunk of review for season 2. So that being said, this will contain spoilers, but I will give you a spoiler warning. I'm assuming if you haven't seen season 1, I'll give you non-spoilers, quick brief, and then go into the spoilers for season 1. So, uh, Kingdom, basically on Netflix, is a zombie series, and it takes place in China, and a couple decades, century not a couple decades, couple centuries ago, and basically it's the result of this country trying to recuperate itself after a recent war against Japan and the conflicts of different, like, I guess, a rival clan and the current crown prince of China, and the dynamic between like these two families and this crown prince trying to accept his birthright, but also be aware that it's not in his favor how things are going. And it has, the first episode had a lot of like political kind of aspects to it, which is very nice. But then you learn, okay, like there's something going on here that's wrong. There's like a conspiracy in that sense, you could say. And without going into too many spoilers of it, it gets really, really out of control really fast. And each episode, as a 5 episode series of the first season, it leaves you wanting more so badly. It just, each one ends with another cliffhanger to one up the previous cliffhanger that you just ended on. And I ended up watching the series 3 times within like the first like month and a half that I had started watching it. And I know I had seen it pop up on Netflix, and I was like, oh, this looks kind of good. I'll add it to my list. And finally I was just at home and I thought, what am I gonna watch? And I just popped it on. I was like, this is right now, Kingdom, for me personally, is my favorite TV series of all time. Like, I can't even think of another series that just beats it. Like, obviously Game of Thrones is its own special place for me. And I'm a huge Mandalorian fan. I'm a huge Star Wars fan in that own right, and we do have like the Clone Wars currently out right now. But for me, just the excitement and the attention to detail and just the thrill, I haven't had that in a while, especially from a zombie movie. And like, um, the ability for them to make a the ability for them to make these types of zombie movies that are different from most Western type zombie films and zombie media is they bring such a unique kind of look and aspect to like the zombie itself. I mean, even look at like the Train to Busan. That movie was, those zombies again were done so creatively, in the sense that they would freeze during like in the pitch dark. They wouldn't be moving. They just kind of go into an idle mode, and it would just be absolutely terrifying. And again, they bring not like that exact same kind of method into these zombies, but they bring that same creativity, and not just a mindless, slow moving, flesh eating zombie, but they make these things unique in their own right from any other zombie we've ever seen, and just have it's creative what they've done with them. And the actors behind moving and acting out these zombie like parts are just, they're absolutely terrifying, just leave you like on the edge of your seat. So if you haven't seen season 1, I highly, highly recommend it. It is so good. I will not stop ever recommending it. It is just, the first season is just so on point. The characters, you fall in love with them and you root for them, and they just become so like important. And I don't know how I've gone this long without having a series like this. And you can watch it obviously with English dub. So I usually watch it with English dub and the subtitles on at the same time, just so I can kind of like gauge like, okay, exactly what's going on. And for me, growing up with my dad, I would always be watching, martial arts movies with him and all these kinds of flicks and films. And it was just, for me, having movies with subtitles, I really, really enjoy. I'm not really super into anime, I guess, in that sense. I more or less, like, I enjoy the live action like kung fu fighting movies or those older ones, those Jackie Chan flicks, and stuff like that has the subtitles that just kind of like, for me it's extra nostalgic, I guess you could say. So when I watch this series, it just kind of, it makes me feel, I mean, that's probably why I'm a little bit biased and why I love it so much, but it's such a great series. So that's season one, and I'll probably drop some season one spoilers in my season two spoilers. But here I'm going to branch out into my non-spoiler season two dive in. So season two is just absolutely fan freaking tastic. I could not believe that they were able to upscale the events of things and just leave my jaw dropping at how certain things were unfolding. And it's just like I enjoyed being able to like kind of sense like, okay, this might happen, this could go wrong, and then it would just take a U-turn and be like, oh no, this is actually happening, like, oh no, that just happened, oh my god, like how are they going to contain this, what's going to happen? And like, again, the characters, you bloody well root for them. There's I'm not gonna say which character specifically in case you haven't seen season one and you're tuning into this as a season two non-spoilers, and I don't want you to know which characters live and die and all that. But there's certain characters again from season one you just root for, and you absolutely just, you're like, yeah, like you are empowered, you got this, like you can do it. And it's just, you root for them, and it's just, they turn into complete like badasses. And then even some like, they completely turn around like, oh, I wasn't expecting like, this person to kind of turn around in that sense or to make these choices, but they do. And it's like, that's great, that's fantastic. And again, it's all that character development and character building that you're really pulling for. And you really root for like these characters. It's just incredible. And the series, like it I wasn't sure if this was going to be the final season, and I guess like this isn't really much of a spoiler because I mean, like I obviously know where they're going with it, but it's hard to say, like, because like the story, like from my perspective, could have been wrapped up nicely, just one season, two season, done, that's it. But it seems like they have a mind to keep going, and that, I know that's solely based off the popularity of season one. And I was like, season two, the trailer dropped just a little bit ago, because this came out on March 10th, I believe, about a week ago. And the trailer dropped just before that by a couple days, and I was in utter shock, like, oh my god, I've been waiting for this. So I'm predicting that next March is when we get season three. So that's got me super excited. And yeah, this just, season two, just, it one up season one in so many ways. Again, season one has a lot of original moments that just absolutely had me in utter awe. Like, I was on the edge of my freaking couch, just terrified. And considering, not that I'm into the whole like COVID-19 business, but I self-isolation makes for a good time right now with Netflix and all that. And I've kind of been binging these kind of, I don't want to say relatable films, because they're not really, but yeah, I've watched like Contagion and stuff like that. But then watching a show like Kingdom, definitely it kind of adds to the vibe of, I guess, what's going on in the world a little bit. Just you get that zombie, that pandemic, that spread kind of a virus kind of thing. And it's an interesting dynamic to watch something like that and then know that obviously we don't have zombies right now in the real world, but it's just, yeah, just an entertaining thought that I have pondered in my mind. So that all being said, I'm going to dive into complete spoilers. Season 1, 2, off the board now. Spoilers are on the table. So, if you haven't seen this season, I highly recommend you go check it out. And if you have seen it, then you're more than welcome to hang out with me, type some comments, and then we're good to go. So, 3, 2, 1, GeekVerse assemble. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in this now. Kingdom, holy smokeroo. So, this show, literally, I just can't believe that. First of all, I'm so upset that they killed off the bodyguard to Prince Licha, Crown Prince, and it's so upsetting. I really, really liked his character so much. And you know what? I'm gonna have to probably Google some of these characters and because I want to get their names right, and I don't want to incorrectly say their names, because it's hard for me to know all of them. Okay, so yes, we got the Crown Prince. We got Sobi. Yes, Cho Hakju. Mu Yang, that was the bodyguard's name. Bompal, Anhyun, Choi, and then Yo. I don't know if I'm saying the right. But yeah, so that is good. And he is the. There we go. My keys are so loud. I have a new keyboard here. Anyways, so Crown Prince. Okay. So yeah, these characters, I can't believe how much I've fallen in love with them. And I never expected, to fall in love with these characters so easily, especially the prince, because after everything he's gone through with the Haewon Cho clan trying to kill him and betraying him and taking over the throne by making his father a zombie and then forcing him to behead his father as a zombie in front of all the people to prove that he is a traitor for and treasonous against the capital. It's just bonkers that the prince has to undergo this, and he's just trying so hard to work for the people and be there for the people. Like, it's absolutely insane. And that being said, like, his character just goes through so much. And I remember watching season 1 and seeing, they were trying to get to the little hospital village that was walled off with concrete walls, and they're trying to get there, and then they're moving all the elderly and all the people, and they see, like, oh my god, like, underneath the rocks there's all of these dead zombies just hiding there, and it's like, no. And then they start to realize it's getting darker, and then the zombies are waking up because it's getting colder out, and then they start running, and like the wheel breaks off the cart, and so the prince is like, I'm not leaving anyone behind, and he like lifts the cart up with his soldiers, and they get the wheel on, and then they like run, and they just barely get into the doors before the zombies catch up to them, and it's just absolutely nuts. Like, just, again, it's a thrill ride. And even then, like, when they move the bodies to Jeonsung in the first season, and you just know what's waiting to happen, it's just like, oh no, this is horrible. It's just those moments that carry over into this next season, all because of this one character, who wanted to let these people eat, so they ate an infected corpse, and it's just no. And that's how the virus spreads out, and it gets even worse when you get to the end of this season and you see, like, oh my god, this whole horde of zombies coming at, and I didn't know that the season finale of season 1, I thought there was one more episode, so when they set up their defense and all these zombies come pouring out of the mountains coming at them, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good, and it was like season 1 ends, and I was so upset. Oh, I can't stress it enough. But that being said, season 2 is here, and it picks up literally right after the season 1 finale, and it's just absolutely bonkers. I loved, like, they were, like, so unprepared and uncaught, and it just, they were penalized for it. The Crown Prince, he set up this awesome defense, and then it kind of jumps back and forth between the two defenses. And you can just see them getting overwhelmed and it's not working. I love seeing, like, the action, because, like, the one wall that the prince was at, they opened up parts of the wall and they had these guns, like, firing through, killing the zombies, which was so good. And then finally, like, they start breaking through the walls, and you see, like, this little kid zombie, like, break through the wall and start eating this guy's leg. Like, it's just nuts. And, like, they're trying so hard, and then they have to turn around and run, and then they realize, oh, like, in this sense, like, they were running back to, like, their main walled-off city. I don't get why the city, per se, did not open the gates, I guess. I mean, I understand they didn't want to take the chance of infection, but you had all these people that could have survived, and they threw, like, a couple little rope ladders down for 3 people to climb at once, and there was, like, 30 people down below. And needless to say, most of them did not make it, which is very, very sad. And when that was from the one wall that retreated, the second one where the prince was at with his comrades and everything, they realized, okay, we can't get up that way, but there's a secret passage in. So they went back, and, like, the lock was sealed, this cage, and it was this narrow path, and they're trying to get the lock open, and they're standing guard, and you can hear the growls and everything. It's like, oh my god, get in the cave. And this is only the first episode. It was so good. and they manage to break the lock open. And one guy, he sacrifices himself because the door wouldn't hinge shut properly, so he ties himself in the door, and then he seals himself up in the door so that the zombies can't get through. And it's just absolutely nuts, and he unfortunately dies. And then he one of our comrades, he kills him in the head to, you know, spare him from turning into one of those creatures. And they get into the city, and everything, you know, it's okay. Like at this point, like, I would have had people in the city making so many arrows and just position archers on the wall and just keep firing arrows down and killing the zombies. Because I mean, what's the point if you have you know, I guess a limit, but there's lots of wood in that walled off city. Why not, you know, make as many arrows as you can and just try to fire away and take out as many of these things as you can? It just makes sense, right? But they didn't do that. They were just trying to huddle up and survive. So in that direction, like, it was really interesting to see that dynamic. And the Haewon Cho clan, so we had to see like Sobi and the magistrate of Gyeongsan, or yeah, Gyeongsan province. I'm not sure if I'm saying the names right, but him and Sobi, he kind of likes Sobi, and she's the nurse doctor from the original village who's trying to figure out how to cure this. And she finds the resurrection plant, and she's escaping because they're climbing up this mountain, and she's realizing, okay, there's all these zombies on the other side of the lake, they can't get to us. And so they climb up, and they go all the way to the wall, and they get back to where the leader of the Haewon Cho clan, he he takes them in, and he spares them, and he's kind of got his own plans going on. And you know, everyone in the Haewon Cho clan's got their own plans. Like, even his daughter, who's the queen, who's supposed to be bearing a child, a son, has been lying to her father and basically has a baby that is not hers, but is the son of the bodyguard for the crown prince, which is very unfortunate. And in that sense, so Sobi ends up realizing, like, hey, like, how to use the resurrection plan to turn the dead into the undead. And she learns also eventually how to cure it, not like a solid cure, but a way to halt it in its tracks. But the thing is, like, the resurrection plant, like, it's the like, little eggs of these worms on the plant itself, and they're tiny and they're hidden in there. And when they're inside you, they go for the brain, and when they're in your brain, it kills you, and then they take control. But if you were to submerge the body into water, they can't survive in water. So when the water is like flowing into the body and surrounding the body, the worms try to escape. So they leave the body they fly out of the wound or whatever. They get out of there, and they can't survive. And I wasn't sure how I felt about that kind of take on the zombies, but I really like that dynamic. I think it's very cool, because the one scene where everyone was getting bit, and it's like, oh, this is horrible, but they all fell into the icy water and everything, and you just see like them waking up and the worms coming out of their bodies. It's like, yeah, this is so cool. Like, these survivors are just pulling through. So good. And for me, like, this is, like, I love Game of Thrones and the Long Night. I think that Battle of Winterfell was just a absolutely crazy episode, and I have my own personal issues with the Night King dying. I wish that was dragged out a little bit longer. But for me, this felt like this was like my long night moment in this show, because it was like winter was here, and when they're doing that final battle and the lake was frozen over, and the prince is just there with his comrades, and they're looking and waiting through, you know, the hordes of these zombies to come out of the darkness and run onto the ice. It was just nuts. So, but yeah, the show overall, like, you learn, okay, so the leader of the Haewon Cho clan, he takes on like Sobi, and like they confront the queen, and the queen poisons the Haewon Cho clan leader, her father, for figuring out like, okay, the baby was fake and not really hers and all this stuff. And it's just a crazy dynamic. And all while that's happening, that actually happens after the event of him being bitten, because I can't remember his name, Lord Cho, who was a former mentor of the Crown Prince. He goes with the Crown Prince when the Crown Prince has to kill his father. Lord Cho doesn't make it. He ends up being gunned down. So they form a plan. Lord Cho tells the Crown Prince to get Sobi to infect him, and so he gets infected. And then this is the only way to make the men believe what's going on, because everyone's just listening to the Haewon Cho clan, and they're not thinking for themselves that, okay, this plague is serious. And so when Lord Cho wakes up as a zombie in the camp, like all the guardsmen are like terrified, and they're trying to killing him and killing him and killing him, but it's not doing anything. And Lord Cho's zombie form just runs straight for the Haewon Cho clan leader and like bites him in the face, and it's like, oh my god, this is intense. And that's when like they realize what's going on, they believe it. So they because they all saw him die, so now he's walking around again. But then they realize, okay, they pledge allegiance to the crown prince, and this is where it starts to turn around, and the crown prince starts to take back his country, which I love that dynamic. He takes these soldiers and he returns back, and he just starts recruiting more and more of these people to his cause. Even when these soldiers' families were at risk, they knew what was right was to stand and fight with the crown prince, because it wouldn't matter in the end. A country was being led by a cruel queen who didn't care. And when all the guards and everything, they were there, you learn that, okay, when Haewon Cho clan's father, when he dies, when he was confronting the queen and she poisoned him, Sobi was obviously there. The queen took Sobi and threw her in a jail cell beneath the queen's residence in the royal palace. And underneath there as well, there were some zombies in a cage, 2 of them. And the queen just, for some reason, her mentality was, if I can't have the throne, no one can have the throne. So when she was confronted by all the guards and everything, and the crown prince, she had the idea, I guess, to get her or no, I don't know, maybe it was probably a pre-registered idea and a plan, because she thought of it, and then her comrades, and they were approached by, guards coming for her resignation papers for the queen. Her head, like the queen's head maid, went down in there and unlocked the gate, letting the zombies out, and obviously she died, so that sucks for her. But I don't know what benefit this would have had, because this could have gone so bad. It could have been so bad, but there were a lot of bodies in that area, in general. And so when and this is during the daytime too, because it's winter and the zombies come out where it's cold. And so when the first few infected start spreading, and like the crown prince, he realized what's going on, he yells out everyone to close the gates, and they shut the gates to this inner sanctum of the palace and everything. And there's so many zombies in here. They go out, crown prince leads his team, and they go out and they start like killing the zombies as fast as they can, killing them wave after wave after wave, and then more of them come. And then they realize, okay, we got to get on the roofs, and we got to get to the gardens, because we can break the ice and freeze all the zombies, or like get them in the water where they'll die, because they can't handle being in water. So they're running on the roofs, and they're going, and like this is when Sobi is still trapped with the queen's palace with some guards, and the zombies pile up there and break through. And this is where you root for Sobi. She is just like I'm coming to realize now as I get older that a lot of these current shows, and even older movies too, have so many empowering women that are badasses. It is crazy. And you realize this more and more so as you get older, when you rewatch a lot of these old films. Sobi is just a character who turned from like a fragile nurse in this small little base to like being a badass, where the queen drops the baby and everyone else can eat, and she grabs the baby and she's swinging her fire torch back and forth, and she lights a blanket on fire, throws the blanket fire on her back, and runs into this horde of zombies with the baby going, and makes it to this little room that she can hunker down in. Like, just a total badass. Like, oh my god. And, fortunately you learn, okay, the baby's been bit and it's sad, but she manages to get the worms out of him by putting him into water and everything. And so that's great. And at that time, the crown prince is on the ice, and his guards are shooting the ice, trying to get the zombies to fall in. And finally, it just seems like the last minute, this big hunk of zombie man, he was a guy protecting these kids, which normally, unfortunately, he didn't pull off defending the kids. And he's just, you hear thud, 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 and he's running on the ice towards the crown prince, and the crown prince like runs at him and grabs him and throws him up over him and smashes in the ice, and the ice just breaks everywhere. It's nuts. And they all fall in the water, and then you see like the worms leaving their bodies, and they get out, which is fantastic. And then it's brutal. They spend the whole like next day going through this capital like closed area, killing off any remaining zombies that are hiding, and when they finally kill them all off, they open the gates again, and a few people come in and they're like, "Is anyone left alive?" And the crown prince is like, no. Technically, everyone from this old world of rule is all dead. There's like no magistration, there's no senator, politicians, or anything left. They all were in this area, and they're pretty much all dead. So the only real figure of authority left is the crown prince and some, I guess, a couple advisors that were on the outside at the time. But they yeah they order him to kill the baby, because the baby, there's still Hey1 clan supporters out there, but the baby being alive would rally them up to support this baby. But the crown prince, who's going to realize that, okay, he's not infected anymore, and like he realizes that he's done so many things. He had to kill his father, and he's done so many terrible things that, this country doesn't need that. It needs like a fresh start, and this boy could be that, as long as he's taught and raised to be wise and kind and all this. And I love that about this story. It's just, the country does not deserve the crown prince for what he is capable of and how wise he is. He's just such a legendary character, and he just blows my mind, and I love him as a character and as an actor too. He's just fantastic. So when he decides to leave for good, he takes Sobi with him and a couple other guys with him, but the remainder stay back and they raise the new king. And they delete the records from this time period, and then we get a jump 7 years in the future. And this is in the final episode, and I couldn't believe it. It was probably like 20 minutes, it felt like, of just being in the future, by 7 years. And I was like, okay, is the crown prince really dead? Like, what's going on? It's cool to see these familiar characters come back, and that was really, really awesome to see them like aged and stuff. And so you see the boy, and you see like the wound on his hand from when he was bit and all that, and he's growing up, and he's very nice, and he keeps asking like, where's my brother and my parents, and what happened to them and everything. And they're like, oh no, we deleted the records so no one can know. But the group people telling him this, they know. And so one of his advisors is the magistrate of Donghai, or Jeonsun, and who else? One of the guards as well. But yeah, they so the boy's being raised well, and then we see our marksman friend, who's just the badass, who's always throwing his body into like the zombies and like swinging his gun around. He meets up with the former magistrate of Jeonsun province and talks to him, telling him that the prince is actually still on the hunt for, with Sobi, where these flowers are. And they realize these resurrection plants are actually growing all over the country in so many places. And that's when my mouth dropped, because I was thinking, okay, like the zombies have been silenced, and this is when you kind of get, excuse me, more, I don't want to say exposition, but more explanation on how the horde works, because the guy's giving the magistrate of Jeonsung, former magistrate, the diary journal of Sobi, which details the plant, the resurrection plant, and the virus should another outbreak occur. So in the book, it kind of like they're covering the details, and they go over the fact, okay, that in this book, if you take the plant and you grind it up, it's the worms, these eggs of the worms, and you inject it in the dome or whatever of your forehead, and they will take over the body. And that being said, bites from that, in that sense, those kind of bites would not transfer the eggs or the virus. It wouldn't infect. It was only when that the body was made infected, the infected body was like, the body was boiled and in that soup cauldron the first season, that in that heat the eggs were able to thrive like crazy. And when it was all eaten, the eggs were, again, they were like on another level. It was like an upgrade for them, because then they were spreading through infection by bites and everything like that. So that got really, really bad. And yeah, it's just, I'm trying to understand more and more of how the zombie like virus works. And again, you learn in this sense too that the country, they use the zombie, like the Heiwan clan and Lord Cho, sorry, they used the zombies as a way to fight off the Japanese back like 3 years ago, before this current outbreak happened. and they basically sacrificed a village and turned them into zombies to fight the Japanese. And it worked, it saved them, but it was very shady of them to do. So that had happened, and then, yeah, at this time, anyways, 7 years later, at the current present time, they're, the crown prince has basically gone up north with Sobi and a few of his fighters, and they go to this village where they track down, like, okay, this person is selling the resurrection plant, telling people it brings people back from the dead, and this guy's telling people to plant it everywhere. So the crown prince is trying to track them down, and they get to this shady looking village that looks like a lot of people have been eaten, and it's all broken and run down, and they keep going, and they hear like bells jingling, and they hear like this person sort of runs out of the fog with a bell on her leg, and they kill him, and he was a zombie. And then all of a sudden you start hearing bells all over the place in the forest, in the woods, coming at them. Like, oh no, this is terrifying. And then it pans to this mysterious character, and we don't know who she is yet, but she's clearly the one responsible for this new outbreak that's been caused. And it's like, okay, what is her plan? What's her goal here? And how is this going to carry over into the third season? And that's not only the only cliffhanger, because then it shows, and as we learned, that the worms couldn't take over again the baby's brain because it was undeveloped. So when the crown prince goes to bed, or not the crown prince, the king, the little boy king, when he goes to bed, we see a worm moving up from his wrist, and then we see it going up his face into his brain. And you don't literally see it, but you see it going up his face towards his brain. It's like, no, 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 this is horrible. So it's open so many more possibilities of what's going to happen. And just like, again, they could have ended this season just with season 2, but no, they kept it going, and I respect that. I love it. I think that's fantastic. I just I don't know if I can wait another year for this show to come back. It proves every time to be my favorite show. I love seeing, just the swords fighting, cutting down these zombies, and just like everything. It's just vibrant, it's colorful, it's visually pleasing, the aesthetic is awesome, the zombies are terrifying, the story is great, the characters are developing. It just has everything that makes a great show great, in my opinion. And for me, this show is an easy 10 out of 10. Season 1 and Season 2, I highly recommend both of them. And if you are currently isolated and you want to watch something zombie related, pop Kingdom on, watch it. You will not be disappointed. And if you are, I'm very, very sorry. But at the same time, I'm not, because you watched it and it's such a good show. Oh, but yeah, that's all I think I have to say about Kingdom Season 1 and 2. Just absolutely legend status for a TV show. Just great. Yeah, other than that, let's see, what do we got? So yeah, amidst this whole COVID-19 craziness, we've obviously got some changes and some new unveilings we have to do for you guys with the podcast. But we're adapting to the whole isolation thing and changing, but it's not going to take away from us bringing you some grade A, top tier level content, let me tell you that. So we're going to keep pumping reviews out for you whenever we can, retrospectives. This free time, I'm not doing all these movie reviews, just gives us more time to catch up on some awesome, crazy content for you guys, the fans. So can't go wrong there. And just go check out our social media to see the latest updates of what's popping, especially, Patreon. We got a lot of exclusive content on there. We got our Mortal Kombat track on there, which is great. That's absolutely amazing. I believe the Spider-Man track will be dropping on there, I believe, at some point. I'm not sure all the details on that, but I know Mortal Kombat's on there right now. We got a few other tracks coming out. Go check out Dylan Must did a review. I think it was for Dunk Lords. Yeah, Dunk Lords. So check out that game. That's super, super awesome. And I'm sure we'll be getting something Animal Crossing related or some feedback from that, because he's been playing that right now, which is super fantastic. I believe we've got a newscast coming up, which is going to be totally filled. We'll have a bit of a Call of Duty Warzone review on that, so you get to hear Travis's input. Got a lot of wild stories for that, and that's all I've been really playing lately in this term of isolation, just Call of Duty. Oh, yes. So yeah, make sure you check out Facebook, social media, because we are dropping, Clone Wars retros every week, or not Clone Wars retros, Clone Wars new season reviews every week, every Friday. And on top of that, you can check out our Facebook Clone Wars poll going on, where just about finished round 1. I think we have a couple more rounds, then we're done. But it changes every day at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Yes, so that's it. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and until next time, I am Taylor, and we will see you in the search bar. Have a good one.